This news program is proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Now Biscuits.
President Widodo holds bilateral talks with Prime Minister Marape. 35 suspects of Koki riot arrested. And National Court dismisses the NHC case. A very good evening. This is National EMTV News. I'm Godwin Eki. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister James Marape played host today to Indonesia's President Joko Widodo. The two leaders who met in Indonesia in April last year today swapped roles before holding a bilateral.
It's been over a year since Prime Minister James Marape met with Indonesian President Joko Widodo in Indonesia. Touching down at the APEC terminal this morning, it was full of handshakes and smiles. The official welcome ceremony led by the Prime Minister. On the APEC terminal, a traditional welcome for the Indonesian President. Before President Widodo was whisked away to Government House to present himself before the Governor-General. Arriving at Government House, the President officially signing in before meeting Grand Chief Sir Bob Dadai. Following the formalities, a gift in the shape of a woman's portrait for the President before he was whisked away to APEC House for the bilateral meet. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
A total of 35 people allegedly involved in Monday's riot at Koki in the National Capital District were arrested and detained yesterday following a massive police operations across the suburb of Koki. NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Silva Sika took charge of this operation to identify and arrest the suspects responsible for Monday's carnage.
Koki was rocked by violence on Monday when opportunists rioted, looted shops and smashed the windows of vehicles of commuters traveling along Hilly Road. The extent of the damage, loss and injuries sustained by victims, both locals and foreigners, are yet to be determined at this point in time. The violence erupted following the killing of a man. A massive crowd swarmed the main Koki roundabout and began attacking the shops and pelted passing vehicles with rocks and robbed the occupants who were caught up in the chaos. Mr. Sika said all commercial activities in this part of the city will remain shut for an indefinite period until the suspects involved are identified, arrested and charged by police. Mr. Sika said police will work closely with the community leaders in their effort to locate and arrest more suspects involved in Monday's incident. Meanwhile, in a media statement, Prime Minister James Marape has strongly condemned the violence and looting that occurred at Koki while indicating that the government would be stepping up on identification-based residency in all major urban centers, starting in Port Moresby and Lae. He said this will be running side by side with looking at problematic settlements and relocating settlers to alleviate social and law and order problems inside cities. Prime Minister Marape appealed to the youth to turn to second-chance education and SME as part out of lawlessness. Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
Elizabeth Bowada, former managing director of the National Housing Corporation, has sought the court's decision to be reinstated as the managing director. Bowada, who has been out from office, has lodged her complaint to the National Court recently.
This national court matter is by Bowada as plaintiff and the defendants, Kobe Bomareo as Minister for Housing and Urbanization, Taye Sansan as Secretary of the Department of Personnel Management, the Public Service Commission, National Executive Council, the Independent State of Papua New Guinea, and Henry Mokono. An affidavit of the Department of Personnel Management dated on the 3rd of July 2023 was presented to the National Court by Solicitor General Tauvasa Tanuvasa. This document says there is no contract for Bowada and the state for the position of Managing Director of National Housing Commission, and there is no express where Elizabeth Bowada should be MD. On behalf of the state, Solicitor General Tauvasa Tanuvasa stated to the court that there is a vacuum where there is no managing director, whether acting or substantive. Hence, Deputy Chief Justice Kandakasi has dismissed the proceedings. Grace Papiali, National, EMTV News.
PNG Dataco Limited donated 30 laptops to Grace Memorial Technical Secondary School in Wawaria District in Morobe Province recently. The presentation of these laptops will greatly benefit the students, providing access to a wider range of educational materials and resources to help them stay connected with their studies. The laptops were presented to the school by PNG Dataco Limited Domestic Business Manager, Mr. Kaime Kipi.
As a business arm of the PNG government, PNG Dataco Limited recognizes key government priority areas in health and education. Mr. Kipi said that the laptops will help teachers prepare for their lesson plans with reliable access to new teaching content.
Fiber cable display transmission cable website bring all the internet na Facebook lo yumi lo waria na go out long internet. So suppose only sit down close lo display app. We plus have connect him all fiber go to school in only can use him. Emol same so time fiber go straight into the school. Emol connect lo on the big plus some super highway we all can download them all get something belong school. Come long laptop go into the classroom or teacher by line him na school emol pigni or pigni yet only can line him.
Mr. Kipi added that many of the schools that PNG Dataco Limited supported under its Community Service Obligations Initiative were located in proximity to fiber optic cables highway. Schools that connect to these cables can easily access internet for educational purposes such as downloading educational materials that will help in their learning. So far, a total of 9 sites in WOW have internet service through fiber links and access points. Mr. Kipi acknowledged the WOW Warrior MP Marsh Narawak for the partnership in ensuring PNG Dataco Limited's CSO initiative was in line with his district initiatives. Amanda Ilaitia, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break with more stories. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. Madang Governor Ramsey Pariwa is committed to supporting the work of churches in his province. As part of his commitment, Governor Pariwa is looking to establish a provincial council of churches that will represent the interest of churches in the development of Madang province. This was stated by the governor's representative during the closing of a church rally in Burukanam village on the northern coast of Madang.
Speaking in the absence of Governor Pariwa, his administration manager, Janice Bowie, said the governor considers churches as an important partner in nation building. Hence, he has appointed a church representative in the Madang Provincial Assembly.
Number 4, I'm like Dr. Wen, bringing Bell, look, Save, Blong, and thinking them stand strong, to work on them churches. So, Emi look. Na plan lo establishing one provincial council of churches. Inside the leadership the church rep, to blaba work bo want the governor, na want the market church law. Come up in the provincial council of churches. So we can work strong, lo kirapin strong in believe the man meri inside the province, lo one community na ward in Staplong.
Bowie said the governor also plans to establish a provincial council of churches, which will be led by the church rep in his assembly. This council will include representatives from all denominations in the province who will work closely with the church rep and his office.
Number 4, I'm like Doxaven, bringing Bell, Luxave, Blongem, Mosem. Thinking them stand strong, lo work one more churches. So, Emi look, na plan lo establishing one provincial council of churches. Inside the leadership, the church rep, to blaba work bo want the governor, na want the Mogata church law. Come up in the provincial council of churches. So we can work strong, lo kirapin strong in believe the man meri inside the province, lo one community na ward in Staplong.
Amanda Ilaitia, National EMTV News.
More than 50 students from Divine Word University conducted a major cleanathon yesterday within Mount Hagen City as token of appreciation to the Governor for Western Highlands Province for assisting their parents to pay school fees this year.
The cleanathon started from Hagen Central Shopping Centre to WAMP's service station, to the council bus stop all the way to Best Buy and ended at BSP Bank. President for the Western Highlands Student Union of Divine Word University, Wingti Kunai says they have taken up the initiative purposely to thank Governor Wairapa for his assistance. He says as the elites for the province, they want to contribute towards the betterment of Western Highlands Province.
Again, you made looking na confirm mo semen true again and clean you mamas so as highlights lo display country na province lo giving back lo community and you become this swim sabot we belo cleaning Mount Hagen City na maintaining law and order problem in Western Highlands.
Governor Rapa has assisted the tertiary students of Western Highlands Province with a total of 5 million kina. Each student was given a total of 2,000 kina for their school fees for the year 2023. Wingti, who is a final year business accounting student, thanked Governor Rapa, Hagen Open member and Minister for State-Owned Enterprise William Duma, and the Lord Mayor for the city, together with the Mount Hagen City Authority, for the initiative in keeping the city clean. Mr. Wingti mentioned that they will host another major cleanathon program around the city during the Christmas break. Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
A coffee documentary called PNG Made is underway for production in the Chimbu province by the end of this year to 2024. The man behind the project, Joseph Kanene, gave us an insight to the upcoming project.
This documentary is on Papua New Guinea's intricate coffee industry, culture and people. Mainly, it will capture coffee buying in Chuave, Simbu province. The project team comprises of international production company called Little Things. The producer of the film, Joseph Kanene, explains the pilot project.
Both domestically and overseas. I was in London for 6 months working with an Icelandic film production crew. And these guys, I think a team of 6 so far, from America, UK nationals, and Iceland, will be traveling here to Simbu, to Mosby, then to Simbu on the 28th of this month. And they're really looking forward to the adventure tourism and to capture all the beauty of the highlands with a specific emphasis on the coffee industry, from small-scale farmers to growers, buyers, and coffee factories, any farms like bee farms, and just promote the natural beauty of the highlands.
The goal set by the production team is to sell the film to an international streaming service such as Netflix or Amazon Prime in order to reach a widespread audience. Kanene further elaborated on the outcome of the project.
So our main focus is obviously on the coffee industry. They really want to capture the community, the people, because what most people don't realize is outside of Papua New Guinea, people live in suburbs. They belong to states, and they don't have clans. They don't have tribes. That's what they don't understand. So when outsiders come here and they see us and how we live, it's a thing of beauty to them, actually, because we've been living in this area, our villages and tribes, since time began, since before we had watches and new calendars and all of that. And it's actually quite beautiful because you're living with your own family, your own members. They identify with you and you identify with them. So it's quite a beautiful thing, and I think these guys would capture that really appropriately.
Grace Papiali, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the kina closed unchanged at $0.2800 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, Yokina was buying $0.2725 US, $0.4042 Australian dollars, $0.2428 euro, 39.00 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York closed, gold is trading higher, coffee closed higher, cocoa closed higher, copra closed higher, palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading lower, copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading lower. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. Women of the Christian Brethren churches today collected around 25,000 kina worth in cash and items for their Thanksgiving ceremony. This was expressed by the CBC Women President Ruth Wangele, who said that the initiative came from hardworking, compassionate, self-employed mothers to help others.
The Correctional Service Gymnasium in the forefront of Bomana CS Training College came alive from a passionate and colorful ceremony initiated by more than 1,500 women today from almost everywhere in Papua New Guinea. Led in by the Southern Region women, representatives from the Southern Region, Western Highlands, Pogera and Hela, to name a few, danced on with praise and appreciation as women came along with cash, kind and both even, in the fellowship of giving. The CBC Women President gave an insight to the significance of the event.
So inside on this program, normal program lo mi plus all mama is ready all the time lo have him this Thanksgiving so.
She also shared on what will become of the collections made.
So inside on this Thanksgiving program, me place have put him 3 boxes inside on this Thanksgiving program. 1 box blood tithes, that's 10%. Malachi 3:10 says, "You give to God and God will give back." We stand on that verse. Okay, another number 2 box blood giving. So giving is to help others. Whatever we give, the committees will sit now all by helping Narapla, scale him call all Narapla line, or even the host too, if all need him something, all by use him this money. And number 3 box, me plus I put him 1 special gift blow guest me play invite him long end, so that all can pay him airfares blow now all by go back lo 1 place blow all.
Except for the New Guinea Islands region, the 10th National CBC Women's Convention under the theme "The Challenges Women Face" saw participation of more than 1,500 women from the 3 different regions of Papua New Guinea. Women President Wangela stated that the collection of 2,000 to 3,000 kina came from items presented by the women as their Thanksgiving to resell to contribute to the cause. As counting of collections are still ongoing, 25,000 kina is the estimation mentioned by the CBC Women President. Natasha Ovoy, National EMTV News.
And moving to overseas news now, after 2 days of deadly fighting, the Israeli military is now leaving the West Bank area, but Palestinians are also retaliating by carrying out attacks in Tel Aviv.
Palestinian militants warned there would be retaliation attacks. The first has happened just after midday in Tel Aviv. A Palestinian man from the West Bank ploughed into pedestrians at a bus stop before jumping out of the car and stabbing multiple people. At least 7 civilians were injured, none critically. The Palestinian driver was shot dead by a civilian at the scene. And while the attacker hasn't been specifically linked with any militant groups, Hamas has celebrated and praised the attack, directly linking it as a response to the Israeli military operation in Jenin. In Jenin, more airstrikes have been launched throughout the day, and deadly gunfire between soldiers and armed Palestinians has continued on the ground. At least 11 Palestinians have been killed, including a number of militants, which Israel says is the reason for this incursion, targeting Palestinian militants. It also says it's found multiple explosives and weapons facilities in Jenin. But the bulk of this fighting is happening in a densely packed area, the Jenin refugee camp, and hundreds of Palestinians have now fled their homes, fearing for their lives and being caught in the crossfire. They are now effectively displaced.
Concerned authorities have given the green light for Japan to release wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant into the sea.
It's been more than a decade since the Fukushima nuclear power plant was destroyed by a huge tsunami. The cleanup process has been extensive. One of the biggest challenges is contaminated radioactive water, which has been used to keep the crippled nuclear reactors cool. There's more than 1,000 tanks of the water, and the plant's operators say they're running out of room as the cleanup continues. So it's proposing to release treated wastewater only after it passes through an extensive filtration system and is given the all clear. The filtration system can't remove a substance called tritium, a radioactive form of hydrogen, but the plant's operators say the water will be diluted to well within safe drinking standards. For 2 years, the IAEA has been examining the proposals and used a network of laboratories to test the water. It says releasing water is a proven process that other countries do, and the tests show Japan's plan sits within international standards.
And its application, if the government decides to proceed with it, would have negligible impact on the environment, meaning the water, fish and sediment.
There are calls by Australian families to the Australian government to make early childhood education to be cheaper or free.
Oh, little squishy. Chase her career and sacrifice her salary or stay at home and care for the kids. That was the decision Aletha Martinez and many families are forced to face after having children.
I ended up deciding to go to do childcare mostly because I still want to have a career.
A decision she says wasn't always financially viable.
Financially, it does take away about a third of our combined incomes.
Now I have spent more on early childhood education for 2 children going 3 days a week than I have spent on the mortgage.
Queensland recently announced it would make kindergarten or preschool free for all 4-year-olds, saving families nearly $5,000 a year. But QUT researcher Dr. Divna Haslam says it doesn't go far enough and the focus should be on universal early education, that is cheap or free childcare.
There's an opportunity for government here to make a win-win. A win for children in terms of education and a win for women and the economy in terms of increasing maternal access to employment.
The police officer in New South Wales who was accused of threatening a 35-year-old woman is now facing charges in court.
Senior Constable Christian White will appear in Cooma Court today charged with recklessly causing grievous bodily harm, assault occasioning actual bodily harm and common assault. The 95-year-old woman who had dementia died in Cooma Hospital last month, a week after being tasered at her nursing home. A police internal critical incident investigation is also underway.
A 62-year-old woman charged with murdering two 94-year-old people is due in court today. Police are suspecting they were administered by lethal doses of unprescribed drugs.
Police yesterday arrested a 62-year-old woman from Craigmore in Adelaide's northern suburbs. She's been charged with 2 counts of murder. She will be facing the Adelaide Magistrates Court later today. It is believed that the 62-year-old woman is the daughter of the elderly couple who have allegedly been killed. Brenda Anderson died in March of last year. Her husband Linton died just a couple of months ago. Both were 94 years old. Both Mr. and Mr. Anderson had abnormalities in their toxicology reports from their post-mortem, and that's what has raised suspicions about their death. Police said the pair died from a drug overdose after deliberately being administered these prescribed medications, none of which the couple needed or had historically taken in the past. Detectives have said that they have been working with the broader family for several months who have been shocked by the forensic findings.
National EMTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sports. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. PNG NRL will play its round 13 matches starting Saturday before completing the rounds on Sunday. Two current teams currently leading the competition in the National Rugby League competition are the Engamioks in Pool A and Agmak Rabal Gurriers in Pool B. As of this weekend, the National Rugby League competition will witness round 13 with only 4 more rounds to complete its regular rounds. Top 3 teams in each of the pool in the competition are in Pool A, Engamioks, Lace-Necks Tigers and Mandy Muruks, while in Pool B, the pool is led by Agmak Rabal Gurriers, followed by Hela Wigmen and Central Dabaris, and NCDC Port Moresby Vipers, trailing in the 4th spot. This weekend's matches will start on Saturday with matches played in various parts of the country and concluding on Sunday with several matches played in Port Moresby and elsewhere in the country. After this weekend's match, PNG NRL will have only 4 more rounds before the competition jumps into its grand final rounds. The Hekari Academy hosted its first ever football program for the young and upcoming footballers in Port Moresby. They saw interested parents bring their children as little as 4-year-olds to 16-year-old to participate in the program. Children as young as 4 to 8 years old and 12 to 16 years old were attracted to participate in the Hekari Football Club's Academy Football Program in Port Moresby, hosted last week. After months of deferring the Academy program, team manager Voni Capinato had no option to prolong the event but to let her staff carry out the program, attracting more than 100 children from the ages of 4 to 16.
Now we are still busy, but we have like lots and lots of kids. They are still asking us, hey, when is the program? We want to come and train, we want to play and all that. So, Boss Mary Blombla, so Mrs. Voni Capinato, I'm talking, I'm very more picking go to, I'm really sorry, lol picking to. No, we have to start this program. No matter we are busy, we have to study it for the goodness of our country with the football. The future for the football depends on these kids. So I'm really concerned. I'm talking much. We have to start the program.
Mr. Muta added that learning the skills of football starts at an early age, and so the academy is to prepare young and upcoming footballers to master the skills in football and to be ready when they grow up.
Well, usually this kind of program we teach the kids with basics of football. It's all about passing, it's all about stopping, it's all about dribbling, it's all about heading, every basics of football. Like plenty kids in our country, they only play football, but they don't know the basics. They only know how to kick and run, but if you teach the basics, when they are still like this age, 4 to 15, 16, it will really help them to perform to the best of their ability when they grow big. So they have guidance in their life in football. So MIPLA started one more basics in all these areas where they can improve more, and after when they grow big, they can enjoy their football. Now not going to fall because they already know learn when they are still kids.
The program is the first to be hosted by Hekari FC, and there are plans to run more academy programs moving forward. Mr. Muta thanked their sponsor MRDC for their continued support in helping to grow football in the country. Kumul Consolidated Holdings' support to Team PNG's preparations for the Pacific Games are being put to good use by Athletics PNG with a training camp at the National Sports Institute this week. A total of 25 male and 12 female national squad members are attending the camp, with head coach Brett Green taking charge of the program. All of the male sprinters based in the US have returned to PNG and will participate in the PNG Air National Championships from August 11 to 13th. President Tony Green said the process of selection with the Justification Committee of the PNG OC, the final travelling team, will not be announced until after the championships. The training camp is an opportunity to get everyone together and plan their final preparations and to consider which athletes can fill gaps in the teams, such as the sprint hurdles and some of the jumping events. Green thanked the management of NSI for their support for the team's preparations towards the 2023 Pacific Games. Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Moving to overseas sports now, women's tennis world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz has easily defeated veteran Jeremy Shoddy in his first round match at Wimbledon.
The Spaniard won in straight sets, 6-love, 6-2, 7-5, and what was Shardy's final singles match, having already announced that this tournament will be his last. Italian 8th seed Yannick Sinner beat Juan Manuel Cerundolo in straight sets as well, 6-2, 6-2, 6-2. Local hopes Andy Murray and Cam Norrie also won through to the second round. The majority of matches at the All England Club were suspended due to rain.
Melbourne leading goal Belly Fritz could miss the rest of the home and away season after having surgery on his fractured foot.
Fritsch suffered the injury in the early stages of Melbourne's loss to Greater Western Sydney at Traeger Park and was immediately subbed out of the game. Meanwhile, superstar midfielder Clayton Oliver is a chance to play his first game since round 10 after he rejoined main training ahead of this weekend's clash with St Kilda. He played out the loss to Port Adelaide in round 10 after straining his hamstring and was expected to return against Collingwood in round 13, only to contract an infection that actually put him in hospital for 5 days, complicating his recovery.
In cricket, former England captain Joe Root has appealed to his Headingley home crowd for calm as fears grow over a possible backlash at the English team due to their performance in the previous Ashes tests.
The Headingley crowd is always raucous, and officials are fearing there could be potential for emotion to boil over when the test starts tomorrow evening. Jimmy Anderson and Joe Root still believe the dismissal should not have been claimed. Both believe the ball was dead after the over was completed. Root and Anderson follow England captain Ben Stokes, coach Brendan McCullum and fellow veteran Stuart Broad over the past few days, questioning the way Australia play their cricket.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. True Kai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
Weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Southern region, Port Moresby partly cloudy with few showers and possible inland thunderstorm. Daru mostly cloudy with few showers and windy. Kerema mostly cloudy with few showers. Alatau and Popondetta cloudy with rain periods and possible thunderstorm. In the Momase region, Ley cloudy periods with some rain showers and possible thunderstorm. Medang partly cloudy with brief showers. Wewak and Vanimo cloudy with some showers and possible thunderstorm. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau cloudy with some showers and possible thunderstorm. Kavieng partly cloudy with few showers. Kokopo Rabaul cloudy periods with some showers. Kimbe and Buka cloudy with some showers. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen cloudy with rain showers and thunderstorm, then morning fog patches. Goroka and Kundiawa partly cloudy with few showers, then morning fog. Mendi and Wabeg mostly cloudy with some showers, then morning fog. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border to Daru to Kiwai Islands, to Kerema to Port Moresby, to Hood Point to Samarai Islands, seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters of Samarai Island to eastern and western Milne Bay Islands to Cape Vogel, seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters north of Cape Vogel to Yuen Gulf to Finschhafen, seas 1 to 2 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Vitiers Dampier Straits to CRC and Long Islands, seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters of Long Island to Medang to Bogia to Wewak to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of New Britain to New Ireland and Bougainville, seas 1 to 2 meters. And looking at the ocean forecast, Coral Sea sees moderate to rough east to southeast winds of 20 to 33 knots. Solomon Sea sees moderate to rough east to southeast winds of 20 to 33 knots. Bismarck Sea sees slight east to southeast winds of 10 to 15 knots. And Pacific Ocean sees slight east to southeast winds of 10 to 15 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And before we go, Prime Minister James Marape and Indonesian President Joko Widodo had a roundtable discussion at the APEC House. It was the setting for the bilateral meet. Various issues were discussed with a number of MOUs signed, which culminated in a joint press statement.
The iconic APEC House has played host to a number of important events this year, and today it was delegates from PNG's closest neighbours, diplomats from Indonesia and PNG government officials who turned up in numbers to the APEC House to witness this historic occasion. In a roundtable discussion full of delegates from both sides, the Prime Minister made his welcoming remarks.
Widodo, the President of the People's Republic of Indonesia.
Following the bilateral meet and other formalities, a joint press conference was held with the Prime Minister revealing some of the outcomes.
I want to announce to our people and people of Indonesia and to observers, since last year, important milestone achievements has been reached. We've ratified, there was a ratification on 15th of June 2023 of the PNG-Indonesia Visa Waiver Agreement so that diplomatic and official passport holders can move freely between both nations. That was signed on 15th of March 2023. Basic border agreement, our basic border agreement has been ratified successfully by Parliament.
Among the discussions held were previous MOUs that were signed and never acted upon, with the Indonesian president also assisting the Port Moresby General Hospital with a grant.
And I want to thank very much President for the 55 million kina grant to Port Moresby General Hospital to work on our intensive care unit and our mortuary. Thank you very much. I want to also announce that his government has given a grant assistance to help support the West Sepik Integrated Development Project to the tune of 5 million kina. The key announcements on mutual visa waiver exemptions.
This is the Indonesian president's second visit to Papua New Guinea, and it comes at an interesting time as President Widodo heads to the end of his second term as president. The importance of this bilateral meet can be seen in the strengthening of the two countries, of course Indonesia being PNG's closest neighbour. And one thing is for sure, as President Widodo leaves PNG's shores, he leaves a lasting legacy behind. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Wednesday, the 5th of July 2023. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Good night.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Gold Nuggets.